F250 versus F450. Which truck drives better? Now, this topic came up because I just took a long trip in my 2019 F250, and the trip was about an hour and a half, which is relatively long for me. And I haven't driven this truck in such a long time that I kind of forget how it drives. I kind of forgot about the characteristics of how it drives. And I've mainly been driving the F450, and I've gotten pretty used to this truck. And going down to a 250, taking a long drive, there's definitely pros and cons. You know, one of the pros with the 250 is that front end. You know, this wide track front end, the commercial tires, which tend to be skinnier tires than what you get on the 250. You end up with a little bit of wandering on the highway. But this is DS Trucks. Thank you for tuning in. My name is Sean. Before we go too far into the video, if you haven't subscribed to the channel, please subscribe. If you like heavy duty truck content, that is the direction that the channel is taking. And we also do a lot of lawn mowing, maintenance on properties, snow plowing, things like that. Right now we just got our snow plow hooked up on our 2020 F450. But this topic of which truck drives better, is it the 450 that drives better or the 250, came up because I just took the long trip in the F250, and I was really noticing how good the 250 drives. It's almost like going to a car. When you drive a small car, you're like, man, this thing drives good, you know, it drives straight. Or maybe even an F150, the front end on an F150 tracks and drives straighter than a Super Duty does, just because it's a different design. It's not a solid axle. So going from a 450 to a 250, the drive is better in the sense that the tires are more balanced, and the tires are wider tires. If you look at these tires, they're a little bit wider, and they're not as heavy duty commercial tires as what you get on the 450, but they drive straighter better. And I've heard that a lot when I talk to a lot of people with 350 dualies. They comment on how well they drive in comparison to maybe a 450 or a 550. So it's pretty interesting to see that. Now, I did a video a few days ago, and I was driving, when I actually did a video of myself driving down to Ohio to pick up, I picked up this plow used. But in that video, I think I was talking about how the 250 drove a lot better in the beginning, and I didn't film myself coming on the way back, but driving this truck with this plow for that longer distance is blocking a lot of their airflow to the front grille. Even though this plow wasn't that heavy, it's still at least 600 pounds, and I definitely could tell that the truck was getting a little tired toward the way home. After, I've been running the truck pretty much all day. Once I got to the guy's house to look at this plow, the truck was left running pretty much, and we stopped and got the wiring kit down in Ohio because someone down there had it in stock. So I shut the truck down for maybe 20 minutes, but for the most part the truck was running, and it just seemed like it got heat soaked. You know, it didn't have that great of power once it had been running that long. And it could be that, now, I've never complained about lack of power on this F250 with the 6.2 with the 430 gears. But the thing is, I've been driving this 450. I've been driving this 450 for the last couple of weeks. And now, after having a new 6.7 POWERSTROKE with 1,050 foot-pounds of torque and the 475 horsepower, now it does to me kind of seem as if there is a lack of power. So while the 250 did drive better, in a sense that, you know, the wheels have a little bit better balance and the front end tracks a little better, I will have to admit that the power was not quite as good compared to a 450 with the diesel with the 430 gear as well. The 450 also has a 430 gear. Now, if I could figure out how to get this 450's front end to track a little bit better. It's not terrible. It's better on asphalt, but it's going to require just a little bit more attention to keep it in the lane. Or else you're gonna feel like you're drifting around in the lane. Just requires a little bit more attention, which could potentially cause a little bit more fatigue over a long trip. It's not horrible. The tire balance again is not horrible, but it could be better. And it could be as simple as just getting these tires balanced again and updating the shock. What do you call that thing? I forget what they call it. There's a shock underneath there that that helps the front end stay planted. I forget what they call that. I'm drawing a blank right now for whatever reason, but it could be as simple as making those simple updates to get this truck to drive a little bit better, or even potentially switching to a different tire, maybe a lighter duty tire, but that would involve also changing the rims, and that's a big fiasco. So I really like the look of these rims and don't want to go through all that. So I think a lighter duty tire would still carry the ratings. And these tires on the 450 are actually overkill, considering the gross vehicle weight rating on the F450 is only 14,000 pounds. So a light duty commercial truck or a light duty tire would be adequate for the situation. But these 19.5s really accommodate a larger brake rotor caliper setup. It's a little bit larger, so that larger brake prevents you from putting certain smaller wheels. You cannot put F350 dually wheels on a 450. It is a 10 lug rim, so that's another restriction that you'd have to kind of deal with. You could go with I could go with a 22.5 inch tire, but I think it would require an adapter, which is again, it's expensive to go ahead and get tires and rims. So, but who knows which route I'll go. The 22.5s will look cool, but I don't want it to look messed up. Like, I don't want it to look gaudy or out of order or out of place, because I do professional work, and I was even nervous to pick up this truck. I don't want to pull up to a property and look like Mr. Bling Bling, even though I already do. I don't want to go too crazy and get like American Force wheels with low profile, and like I can't do all that. But yeah, so it's a tough one. I think the 450 has the potential to drive a little bit better, but as far as like taking bumps, the dualies. Now, I will say this: I've hooked up the plow to the 450. I lifted the blade, and this front end is much stronger than the 250. This thing handles that 1,000 pounds of weight like nothing. It doesn't even barely squat. It just carries that weight like no other. As far as cooling, like I noticed when I took the 250 out down Ohio, it was a little bit warm of a day. It was like 40 degrees. The truck struggled a little bit with cooling. This 450 I don't think would struggle at all with cooling, because there's extra radiators here. We actually noticed the extra radiator underneath the truck here, and that radiator is between your snowplow hookup. If I can get the camera to cooperate here for a second, this here is an extra radiator. That is an extra radiator on top of the standard cooling system that adds cooling to the whole truck. And it's F450 specific, and it was kind of a bear to put in this plow bracket, because this radiator had to be modified because it's right between the plow bracket. So which truck drives better? It's a tough one. The 430 gear on this truck, I kind of wish it had a 355 gear, but the 430 is better for work, so it is what it is. Which one drives better? I have to give the win to the 250, because it does drive a little bit better, but I think the 450 has potential. So anyway, guys, that's it for the video. Thank you for watching DS Trucks, where we run nothing but the best. The F250 takes home the win as the better driving truck, but the F450 drives good for what it is, guys. It really does drive good for what it is. So I don't I don't really have complaints when it comes to it. Will I try to address some of the wandering issues if possible? If you know something, a good way to address the wandering, that's the main thing. Because I would like the truck to just go straighter, to maybe feel like it has more caster. I don't know if the shock, I forget what you call that shock right now. I think it's called a stabilizer shock or something. I don't know if that would give it more of a straight feel, but if there's a good alignment shop or alignment technique that maybe adds a little bit more caster to these trucks to kind of give it a little bit more straight true feel, then that would be cool. But anyway, guys, this is DS Trucks. Thank you for watching. See you in the next video. Over and out.